अगर मैं पाकिस्तान का कोच बना तो बिल्कुल बताऊंगा, अभी क्या बताऊंगा।
Well, this was Rohit Sharma when questioned what advice would he give Pakistan at the end of that game in Manchester. Fact is that Afghanistan would love for Rohit Sharma or for someone else with equal cricketing pedigree to advise them on how to get themselves out of the hole that they are in right now. Also not sure if Rohit would want to advise Afghanistan on how to bowl to him or to India, because that will defy logic. Because it is here in Southampton that Rohit Sharma and India will take on Afghanistan in a couple of days' time, and the fortunes of the two teams couldn't be more stark going into this game. India are unbeaten after 4 matches. Afghanistan are yet to win any of the 5. And speaking of stark, the weather here cannot be more stark than Nottingham and Manchester, where rain had played havoc with the fan psyche and with the ground and the pitch conditions. It was sunny till about recently. It is drizzling a little bit right now, but the forecast is nothing to get worried about. We should get a full game. Speaking of India, they have been clinical in their approach, winning all their games with a lot in their banks. Well, Afghanistan's best performance was a 34-run loss against Sri Lanka, a match that their fans would believe they should have won. Well, that match aside, Afghanistan have shown fight only in small patches and often as an afterthought. Also, as an afterthought, I think I need to rush back inside the stadium before this drizzle drenches me and my equipment. Well, speaking of India, first the bad news. Shikhar Dhawan has been obviously ruled out of the 2019 World Cup because of the thumb fracture that he suffered in that game against Australia. He was given that time of 10 to 12 days to recover, but clearly the selectors thought that that wouldn't be possible. And given Dhawan's record in ICC competitions, it wouldn't be amiss to say that his absence will affect India's chances adversely in this tournament. Now, what makes it worse is that Bhuvneshwar Kumar's hamstring looked very strained enough for him to get off the field in that game against Pakistan, bowling less than 2 overs. Luckily for India, India had Vijay Shankar, who could finish off a few of the overs and got the wicket. And Bhuvneshwar now has been ruled out for at least 2, if not 3 games, leaving India with a lot of work to do with the rejigging of the 11. The good news now for India is that in a bid to get to the semi-finals, they have done the hard yards already. They have beaten South Africa, beaten Australia, beaten Pakistan as well, and they shared the points with New Zealand, who has looked one of the best teams in the tournament in that rain-filled Trent Bridge potential encounter, which did not go their way, which allows the side a leeway with these 2 injuries. That being said, India were without Dhawan against Pakistan and effectively without Bhuvneshwar for the entire duration of his bowling, and still won by a plenty. This looks like a team with a well-oiled mechanism that will remain tough to beat. What makes India a scarier unit is that Jasprit Bumrah hasn't hit top form yet, with his 5 wickets so far coming at a nearly an average of 30 and an economy rate of 5.3. That's just not Bumrah. While Kuldeep Yadav has picked up 3 wickets so far, and he has promised for a lot more in that game against Pakistan. What's worked for the Indian bowling is that twice they have had the buffer of big scores, and when not, they have hunted in packs. What about Afghanistan? Well, they need to start walking in this tournament as well, because so far they have been in this World Cup for all the wrong reasons. After all, not so long ago, they were touted as a team to watch out coming into this World Cup, and while making the knockouts was probably long odds even by that standards, they did look like they had it in them to challenge for that 6th or 7th spot. Right from even before a ball was bowled, Afghanistan's goose, however, looked cooked when their board CEO Shafiqullah Stanikzai was given the marching orders. But that was followed by something bigger. It was a replacement of the incumbent captain Asghar Afghan by Gulbadin Naib. Now, Afghan is still in the squad, but the problem is that a last-minute change of captain could have worked against them. One might argue the merits and demerits of the presence of Afghan, given his batting showing, and that's not a great record that he has. But a change in leadership that close to the World Cup could have had only adverse effects on the side's chances. What makes it worse is that it's thrown Naib into the spotlight, and he has managed to try to evade the constant media glare for a variety of reasons in his short stint already. Senior players have questioned the board on the captaincy change, which some might argue undermines Naib's position as the skipper. It hasn't helped that Mohammad Shehzad was sent packing for fitness-related reasons, and he reached home and complained that he wasn't unfit. Well, to be fair to him, Shehzad has never been in the Virat Kohli mode of fitness anyway, and it has not helped either that their talisman cricketer and leg spinner Rashid Khan is going through a bit of a form crisis of his own. More embarrassment was to follow when the news trickling in was that some of the players got involved in a scuffle or some kind of a spat with a man taking their video in a restaurant. The captain obviously denied any such thing in his press conference, and things came to such a head that he threatened to walk out of that press conference if that line of questioning continued.
So if anyone asks this kind of questions, so I will be going, yeah.
And as is the case in such situations, the blame game has begun as well. Chief selectors blame the coach Phil Simmons and the management for the results. The coach Simmons has retaliated with a tell-all threat post the World Cup, and this has turned it for Afghanistan from a World Cup campaign that promised to one to remember to a thriller-minute drama that is more suited to a Netflix original than a cricket field. Now, what are some of the stats that you might want to look at for this game? Talking about Afghanistan, 2018 was their best year in ODI cricket with a win-loss ratio of 1.71, including a title win at the World Cup qualifiers. They managed to beat West Indies in the final. But 2019 has gone the other way. They have had a few losses to Ireland, but going into the World Cup, it didn't seem like they would find themselves in the situation that they are in right now. The England loss in the last game would be particularly devastating in the sense that their best bowler Rashid Khan went for 110 runs from his 9 overs. And to give you a context of how shattering that might be for the team, in his 64 ODIs, Rashid Khan has gone for more than 6 and over only thrice before today, and his worst was only 7.55. This game, he went for 12.22 and did not even complete his spell. Now, it was an off day for Rashid Khan, and we all have that, but it's not been his best World Cup either. He has gone for 6.442 against South Africa, 6.5 against Australia as well, to go with that knock that he took on his head in the game against New Zealand, where he did not bowl after that. A total of 350s have been hit by Afghanistan batsmen. Hasmatullah Shahidi has scored the most runs, but if you're going to have 165 at an average of 33 and a strike rate of just 60 as your best effort, which is what he had, then it's a huge problem. They could have done with the enigmatic hitting of Mohammad Shehzad at the top of the order, but well, he's not around anymore, and you got to take whatever you got. Now, India and Afghanistan have played in 2 ODIs only, and the last time they faced off was the last year in the Asia Cup, where the game ended in a tie. We all remember that. That was a brilliant match. Interestingly, over the years, India and Afghanistan have featured in just 5 internationals, including a test match last year, with India winning 4 and one of them obviously ending in a tie. Here's an interesting one. Between the time Bangladesh became a test playing nation in 2000 and Afghanistan became a test playing nation in 2018, current Indian batsmen haven't had too many opportunities to play against associate nations. MS Dhoni has scored the most runs in the current team with 191, and if you add Zimbabwe to the mix, then Dhoni's made just 399 runs out of the 10,500 runs that he has scored. That's a very small percentage of the runs, and none of the other batsmen have done even that much. So that gives you an understanding that India never had or haven't had a lot of opportunities to play against the lower ranked, the so-called minnows. Afghanistan are obviously not minnows, but they're played like ones in this tournament, or the associate nations in the world. Prediction time. Well, I don't think it can go a lot worse for Afghanistan, and that's the kind of position from where teams can get very dangerous. Pakistan have shown that in the past too, and Afghanistan will hope to emulate that. But the question is, who will rise to the occasion to give the Afghan players a cornered Tigers-like speech that we think Imran Khan gave to the Pakistanis in that '92 World Cup and inspire them from a situation like this. They also have their last meeting with India to look at, in which they held India to a tie, which could give them that small bit of confidence going into this game. Well, my prediction is that the Indian bowlers should be able to restrict Afghanistan to a sub 200 score if they bowl first, and for India to chase it down in a hurry and for us to be back home a couple of hours earlier than usual. Hopefully without too much of a fight to get that bus back home. Bye-bye.